Hello, in today's video, I'm excited to talk about my birth story. Off the top, I did everything right. I walked every day, I ate clean as one could. I meditated, I did hip openers, I watched all the yoga YouTube videos to help you prepare for the perfect natural birth. And it was quite a shock when I actually had the moment of bringing my son into the world because it was nothing like I had planned for. So, just to recap, I had this vision in my mind that I would have this beautiful, unmedicated birth. I would obviously be in labor and in pain, but it's okay because after a few pushes or however long, my baby would be delivered. I'd do skin to skin, chest to chest, have this moment with my husband, and then next thing you know, I would be walking around, we'd be out of the hospital, and like, what a day. I watched so many My Birth Story YouTube videos that were like that, and I was like, manifesting it. That's gonna be me. My actual birth story was something so incredibly traumatic for me. I did not enjoy it at all. I didn't necessarily enjoy being pregnant either. I know there's a lot of women out there that are like, I loved being pregnant. That was not my story. I was very sick and I didn't really love it the first and last trimesters, but I had this hope within me of like, okay, once I give birth, it's going to be amazing. And now that I'm 7 months postpartum, I do love being a mom. I love my son. But yeah, the whole thing was pretty traumatic. And it's funny because I don't feel like a lot of women talk about birth being a traumatic experience. I think a lot of women talk about it like it's fine, it's not a big deal. Every woman goes through it who gives birth. And so it almost gave me like this false expectation of what to expect. I just went in thinking like, oh, this is not going to be that deep. You know, my sisters had children. My mother had four, three at home, unmedicated. Like, obviously, this is going to be fine. Like, women have done this forever. But I think women don't really talk about how intense it really is and how you go through such an intense, fast, how can I even describe it? It's so unbelievable. You really meet yourself and a part of yourself. It's so primal. It's so insane, the whole thing, that you have to really snap in and dig deep and go there to bring this baby, to bring this soul through. And so it does require a lot of you emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Now, I felt a lot of shame about my birth story because I ended up having a C-section that was not planned, and it was the opposite of what I had hoped to happen. And it's so interesting because I love research, and I actually did some research, and according to a study in BMC, I'm looking down because I'm reading, pregnancy and childbirth, 45% of women experience some form of birth-related trauma, often due to feeling the lack of control, which I think happens regardless, unmet expectations, or emergency interventions. And mine was an emergency intervention. And to be in a situation where you go from having an expectation to, hey, we have to cut you open and all these people are touching you and you lose complete feeling in your body, but you're awake, it's really weird. So I actually want to share with you my entire birth story and hopefully encourage someone who's watching this that's about to give birth to know that it's okay if you have something that's unexpected. And I hope that my story can bring a different perspective to the pregnancy childbirth conversation, because I definitely feel like I didn't really see a lot of that when I was in it. So let's get into it. Okay, so I was actually in labor for a long time, a good 5 days before even going to the hospital. I was in so much pain. I remember, I think I had started my labor the Thursday, maybe the Friday before I had my son. My son was born on Thanksgiving Day, so a Thursday. So the Thursday before, I was in labor and I was waiting it out. I was home, I was doing all the things. Monday, we had a doctor's appointment, and I was not dilated enough. But she was like, if you want, you can go to the hospital and see what happens. We can induce you. I didn't want to be induced, but we went ahead and put my name down because it was a holiday week. My doctor wasn't going to be there if, you know, things kind of were left in the air, and I really wanted her. So we put our name down. We ended up getting a call to go to the hospital, and I was like, gonna thug it out. And things escalated, more contractions. They hooked me up, and it was interesting because when you haven't had a baby before, you don't really know what you're looking for. So a lot of people will say, do you feel like you are having contractions? Do you feel this? Do you feel that? And it's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be feeling. I just know I'm in pain. Or I don't know what I'm supposed to be feeling, because some women who have really bad periods and cramps before sometimes will be really strong and not realize that what they're feeling is in fact a contraction. So I got hooked up, and they do this band around your belly to monitor the baby and the contractions. And I was having crazy contractions on their own. So I'd been feeling this way for days, and I didn't know that that's what that was. So night progresses, next day progresses. I am not dilating at all. Like, I am not opening up. And you have to be a certain level of dilation to deliver your child naturally. And so we opted to kind of help my process along. And honestly, I don't remember what I was given to help me dilate, but it didn't work. And it actually, I think the second day that we were at the hospital, maybe third day we were at the hospital, my son started having issues with his heart, and it got really scary really fast. And the doctor was like, look, you're going to have to make a choice here because this is not looking good. And that really scared me, because all of the things that I was like, what do you mean? Like, how could this be, right? I ate so well. I was intentional with my walking and my working out and my mindfulness, and I did everything right. And here we are, about to get cut open on a table. And I know there's women out there that schedule C-sections. Like, they make an appointment. It's a beautiful thing. But like, I truly think that it was the unexpected, quick turnaround of this is what we have to do that was so uncomfortable for me. And I think having a major surgery, many people are able to prep for that. Like, you're able to mentally prepare, like, tomorrow I'm going in for my surgery. Not, do you want to do this? We're going to do this. Great. 5 minutes later, nurses are running in, everyone's running in, you're getting a shot in the back, you lose all feeling in your body, you're getting wheeled out. It was a really traumatic thing, okay? And so it was one of those things where I didn't think I had a time to process what was happening, and I was in so much pain physically because I was in labor for days. So my whole body was sore. My whole body was aching. I was exhausted because the contractions were happening so fast, back to back, but there was nothing to show for it. And I was so grateful looking back because I had my sisters in the hospital with me. I had my husband. I was so grateful to have had a community. And actually, my doctor ended up not being the one that delivered my son. We had another doctor who was just on call at the time. She was an absolute angel. She really helped put me at ease. She was Jamaican, so I felt so much of a familiarity there. And so I was just grateful that God sent me an angel in her to really calm me down and made me feel good. I was even able to play my playlist with the music that I really used to listen to the entire time I was pregnant. That really helped center me and ground me. So going in to the C-section, they wheel you out, and I couldn't feel anything, but I'm awake. So it's the weirdest thing. You're already kind of checked out, but also have to be present. And when they did the surgery on me, my husband was standing here next to me, and they have this curtain so you can't really see anything, and you're just laying there. And I remember I had a song playing, and I forget what song it was. I'll link it below, but all we heard was my son's cry. And it was just so beautiful. And all the things that I was so upset about or felt disappointed about completely disappeared, because it's like you hear that cry and it's like, it's the most magical, unexplainable feeling to hear your baby cry for the first time. I'm getting emotional. But to share that with my husband was so beautiful. So beautiful. What's interesting is I'm not a very emotional person, but I was weeping when my baby was born. And even though I wasn't able to have the skin to skin, chest to chest, they did put him near my face, and it was just so sweet. He was so cute. He had little bubbles. And then my husband was able to go be with him while they stitched me up because they cut you 7 layers deep. So that was insane. Then after that really beautiful moment where I was like back in my body and really present, they wheel you to the recovery area, which is literally like a hallway, and you are reunited with this baby, but you're in still kind of a weird, drugged up, painful place. And I will say this, for those of you out there that are going to have a baby, whether it's vaginally or C-section, they're going to have someone come in there and they are going to press on your belly like they're beating you up to make sure that everything is in place. I thought I was going to slap that lady. Okay, I grabbed her arm so quick and I was like, I'm going to cuss you out if you touch me again. It was awful. So that was also pretty traumatic, because I went from really high, scared, I'm scared, I don't know what's going to happen, oh my God, it's my baby's voice, that's so beautiful, I'm in love, to we're beating you up again, touching you again. And then the lactation person came in and was like, okay, time to breastfeed. Now, if you don't know, when you're breastfeeding, your stomach contracts because you're literally working your ab muscles. Now, my abs got cut in 7 layers. So you're feeling so much, not fun feelings in your body, I should say. And it was just insane. So yada, 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 all that fun stuff. But my son was born on Thanksgiving Day, and I had family in town, which was wonderful. Everyone got to be there, and I'm so grateful that I had family around me and able to pour love onto my son, because I really, really checked out, because my body was just, it had been through so much. And then they expect you to stand and walk after a major surgery like that. It's insane. Like, to sit, to stand, there's no ab muscles. You have no strength anymore to even sit up. It is the craziest thing. Medicine is nuts, y'all. And even though my son got here safely and we had so much support and family, there was a part of me after I gave birth to him that felt really, really guilty and full of shame, because it wasn't the birth that I wanted. And there was a part of me that kept thinking, like, did I do something wrong? What could I have done differently? And I did consume so much content around how to have a certain birth, like how to care for yourself, do this exercise and you'll be able to have that, eat this food and you'll be able to have that, drink this tea and you'll be able to do this. And it's like, I did everything. And so part of me felt so defeated. And if you're anything like me and you're like, I need to know so I like to have some control, it is a really hard place to be. And that's the beauty and the complete destructive moment of having a child, is that you realize you're not in control, and there isn't always an answer for stuff. Sometimes it just is, and you have to learn to roll with the punches and and shift and pivot because that's life. It's funny, I was talking with my husband the other night in our kitchen, and I was like, I don't really remember a lot of that day. Like, do you think that maybe if I had stayed home longer and been in labor longer, things would have been different? And he was like, are you insane? He's like, do you not remember that the doctor literally said that you would have ended up in a C-section, period? Like you would have been one of the women back in the day that would have died, like in childbirth. And it's funny because I did research, and apparently in the early 1900s, 1 in 100 women died during childbirth in the US alone. And thanks to modern medicine, women are able to survive like most of the time. So it was a nice reminder to myself that a cesarean doesn't mean failure. There's nothing about it that was wrong. It was the avenue, it was the story that was written for me and my son and for him to get here safely. Okay, so now I want to talk about postpartum and stuff that no one really talks about with that. So because the C-section was unplanned, we had nothing in place. Okay, I live in a 2-story, like my house has stairs. So we had everything upstairs. And so my sister, my mother-in-law ran back to our home, brought everything downstairs, made like a makeshift apartment in our living room for me. We had just purchased a couch that was super low to the ground. It's a beautiful couch. Okay, it's Pottery Barn, it's cute. But with a cesarean, you can't even sit that low to the ground. So I was just a mess. I had to navigate the stairs. Thank God I had a recliner chair that we had purchased because that really helped me. But just navigating, going up and down stairs, holding my baby. Mind you, he was huge. You're not supposed to be carrying a lot. And just navigating, learning to breastfeed, which is so painful if your baby is struggling to latch. So there's just so much that you're learning all at once. And then on top of that, the unexpected healing process. I had an emotional crash. I remember the first week I got home from the hospital, I did everything I could to try to keep my spirits high. I remember I put on blush, I'd put on lipstick, I would try to get dressed, I would just do whatever I could. And getting dressed for me looked like a cute little neon hoodie, with like matching pants and washed hair. And I just tried my best. Oh, I have to share this. I don't know why I almost forgot this. So after I got home with my son, I want to say maybe like 2 days after we got home, my legs completely were swollen. And I actually had postpartum preeclampsia. They fill you with water, like they just flush you with water before surgery. And I just retained a lot of water. My blood pressure was not optimal. And so I kept having to go back to the doctor. And it was annoying because after you have your baby, you're like, peace out. I don't want to see these people again. I don't want to be touched for a while. And here I was having to see the doctors again. So as you can tell, I had a crazy emotional crash. Physically, emotionally, everything just felt so wrong and off for me. And it's funny because I did some research and it said that 1 in 7 women experience postpartum depression, but more women actually experience postpartum anxiety and identity confusion, especially after a traumatic or unplanned birth. And I definitely experienced extreme postpartum anxiety and identity confusion. I did not recognize myself. I didn't feel like myself. I cried so much because between healing and trying to breastfeed, and you get online before you have your baby and even after, and you see all these women that are like breastfeeding and doing everything right, and you're just like, why am I not getting this? Like, this is so hard. But that's reality, right? What you see online with a nice trendy sound over it is not reality. And so you're forced to kind of grapple with that. You're forced to sit in the realness, to sit in that moment. Whereas maybe before my son and postpartum, I could kind of jump into another escapism or go do something, but it's like, you're not leaving. You got to sit, you got to heal. You have to be alone. And it was a very tough season. of my life. And I think a lot of women go through a very tough season in postpartum because it's just so unexpected. And there's so much that I don't even think someone can truly prepare a woman for, because it's just so truly unbelievable. And every woman's story is different. And then on top of that, you add sleep deprivation, which is so cute. Hello, editing Tina here. I wanted to also add something that I thought was insane that I did not expect in postpartum. So, if you are in a progressive relationship, let's say you and your husband or partner talked like before, hey, you sleep and I'll take the baby, or you go do a thing and I'll take the baby. Let me tell you something. That fourth trimester, which is literally the 3 months after you give birth, that baby don't want that man. That baby looks at that man like, who is this? Okay, you and me were together 9 months. Who is that? Get him away from me. I want you. So that was something that was crazy too, because I definitely thought that maybe there could be some equality, some of that, and that was not the case. And I did feel sad because my husband, even though he was in the trenches with me, there was only so much that he could do because I was literally that baby's everything. I was that baby's food, his comfort, his joy, his sense of belonging in the world, rather. And so, yeah, my husband could change with help with diapers. He could help with a lot of things like grabbing me more water and food. But when it came to support, then I thought, when you're really in it, you realize that baby wants the woman that carried that baby. So I just wanted to add that in here as another thing that was a crazy awakening that I experienced. Oh my God. I'm 7 months postpartum right now, and I will say I just started sleeping good again. 7 months, y'all. But it's weird because you're exhausted, you're not sleeping, but at the same time you're happy and you're in love and you love this little baby, but then at the same time you are dealing with anxiety. It is a roller coaster. It is a roller coaster of insanity happening. And I think that's the beauty of it all, is that it doesn't make sense and it's so weird and bizarre, but you created this new life and it's beautiful at the same time. Very bizarre, very weird. I think where I really had a hard time was that I was so bent on trying to perform well, like if you're a control freak like me and your whole life has been based on being right or having good performance, this was a time that I didn't have control over that. So I really wanted to be the perfect person when it came to my pregnancy. Like, I'm going to eat right, I'm going to do right, I'm going to da. Surely that will mean X. Incorrect. Okay, so now that I had my son, maybe if I start walking again and I start doing this again and I do that again. And it was really hard. And so actually my anxiety was so bad that I actually dried up at 4 months. Like, I wasn't able to breastfeed my son enough. And so I had to turn to formula. And this was really hard too, because it was like I wanted to be such a granola mom that everything else was the opposite. Like, reality was the opposite of what I wanted. I wanted to only breastfeed. I wanted to have it naturally, and I didn't get that. And looking back, I can say with confidence that I'm grateful for formula. I'm grateful for doctors. I'm grateful for the journey and the story that I had with my son, because he is healthy, he is happy, he is whole, and I'm good. And even though I didn't have the reality that I initially wanted, I had the reality that was perfect and written for me and my story and my child. And so I would see women that were maybe not even healthy and they had a perfect birth and they were breastfeeding up until a year. And here I was, like, what did I do wrong? But I'm so grateful that I was able to have the support of doctors, the support of formula, the support of these things so that I could heal and I could get myself back to baseline. I think this brings me to having self-compassion. Before my son, I didn't really have a lot of self-compassion for myself. I had a lot of compassion for other people, but for myself, I was very hard on myself. I was very hard on myself. The inner talk that I would do, how I would think about myself, how I would think about my performance, I was brutal. I was brutal. And after my son, I am so much more soft with myself, with balance, with how I move my body, how I eat. Everything is much more soft. And I owe that to my baby, and I owe that to the entire experience, because self-compassion is key to healing. And I really feel like I dried up, and all the anxiety and everything was because I wouldn't just give myself a break. Self-compassion actually reduces postpartum depression symptoms, and it helps you as a woman bond with your baby. And I wish I could go back a little bit in time sometimes and sit with myself and be like, Tina, let it go. Like, you're okay. Your son is healthy. You're whole. You're getting there. And just tell myself to have a break, like give myself some space. I think in today's society, it's so easy to compare everything to someone else's reel, someone else's short, because you just don't know. You don't know what's reality. You only know what people are showing you. And when you're in the thick of it yourself, it's easy to be like, wait, but that's how it should be. What's this? I would see videos of women that left the hospital, and then it's like a month later, 2 months later, I'm at the beach, and they have like, their body looks sick. I'm like, what is this? And then also, if you have a cesarean, your body does not bounce back as quickly because your abdomen muscles were completely destroyed. So you have to get there, and it's not as quick as other people. And so to see stuff online, whether it was breastfeeding or women bouncing back and being able to go to the gym or even being able to take walks with their family, that was so hard for me, because before my son, my husband and I walked with our dog all the time. Like, I'm talking 3 walks a day. I was always walking. And then I wasn't able to walk like that for like a month, and it felt like eternity. I really felt like I was failing because I wasn't doing what other women allegedly were doing. And I also felt a lot of guilt around my dog because he was the baby for so long, and we brought home this new bundle of joy, and all of my attention and focus was now on my son. And if it wasn't on my son, it was in my head, full of anxiety. So just a mess. My dog, I love him so much, and we have come a long way, and I'm so grateful. But boy, did he have some patience with me. It's just crazy because according to this research that I found, it said in 2023, Pew Research report found that 63% of women say they feel pressure to look or act a certain way online, especially around milestones like weddings, pregnancy, and new motherhood. And I definitely felt that. So if you're watching this video, just release all of that and know that your story is your story, and what you're going to go through, what you're going through, it's unique to you. You know, we love a granola mom. We love a woman who's able to go back to Orange Theory and, you know, do P90X and bench press, whatever, like, good for her. But if the most you can do is walk, if the most you can do is hold your baby, that's enough for right now. Like, you'll get there. It's okay. I know it feels like you never will, but trust me, you will. Another really crazy thing that I found was Harvard Medical School did a research that showed that unprocessed shame triggers the same part of our brain as physical pain. Think about that. Unprocessed shame triggers the same part of our brain as physical pain. And I felt like I was in pain for months. Like, I literally felt, when I was sad, I felt it all over my body. And I think that that is what this means. Chronic self-judgment increases cortisol, which suppresses immune function and prolonging healing. So the self-judgment that I had on myself, the shame that I had for myself, it was causing my body pain. It was making me not heal. It was causing me to have physical manifestations, mental manifestations, and I was just not in a good place. So, if you're sitting with a shame in your body, if you're sitting with shame for how you wish things would have gone, or guilt for how you wish things could have gone, the best thing you can do is try your hardest to release it and choose to release it and choose to be okay with the reality that you're in right now, because you need to heal. You need to feel good in your body. And it's not just good for your baby or good for your husband or partner. It's you need to feel good for you. For you. And that's reason enough. You already are going to feel the pressure of wanting to be there and be good for your baby, and like miss friends and want to be a good friend, and what does that even look like? That will all come later, but you finding confidence and peace within your own nervous system is going to have immense ripple effects in the rest of your life. So that's just the first thing you have to do. And I wish I could have gone back and told myself that. So whether the shame and guilt is around your body, your birth story, choices that you've made, just know it's not just some emotional thing. Like, this is your nervous system. These are your hormonal chemicals that just got completely out of whack. And so it is urgent that you find help and that you get to a place where you can release those feelings and learn to navigate for better. And I think for me, what really came as a good thing was telling my doctor that I needed help, that I was not in a good place. I actually had a panic attack driving with my son in the car, and that scared me so bad, because I was like, wow, what a terrible mom I am. Like, I'm I'm not even functioning, And my doctor was able to give me medicine for support, and I was on that medicine for maybe 2 months. I'm not on it anymore for anxiety, and I'm thankful that I was able to come out of that dark place. And the way my doctor put it was that if someone broke their leg and they got a cast, we would never judge them for having a cast. But when it comes to mental health, when someone gets medication and support for that, we judge them for that, or we judge ourselves for that. And so I was able to release the shame and guilt of, wow, I'm not a strong woman, because before I was very strong, very independent. And so I had to release that identity of like, no, I need the support so that I can be a good functioning mother and to myself. And I was able to get to a new baseline. And from there, I was able to get off of the medication. And some women stay on it longer, and that's their prerogative. But I'm grateful that I sought help and that I wasn't in a place where I judged myself anymore, and I released the shame. It took me 7 months to look at myself and truly feel like myself, and I'm still getting there. Like, I'm sure when my son turns 1, I'm going to feel so amazing and be back to myself fully, but 7 months is where I'm at now, and I can truly say that I feel good. I'm rested. I sometimes don't sleep because he still doesn't sleep through the night, but my husband and I are in a good place. It just feels fresh again, and not even again, but fresh in a new way. And even though my birth story was so traumatic and I hated it, I will say I would not take it back for the world, because my life would suck without my son. My family would not be my family without him. Like, my husband and I talk about that all the time. He's like, man, if we didn't have our boy, life would suck, And I think that I'm just so grateful to have gone through that. And I'm grateful for the lessons that I learned through it, and how much I needed to release control, and how much I needed to release anxiety that I didn't even know that I struggled with. I needed to release always thinking about other people and people pleasing, and thinking that I could control anything. Like, I had so much that I needed to put down, and it's like my son came in and helped just completely, like, my son was like a tsunami. He was like, we're gonna level this out, okay, and then we're gonna rebuild. And that's basically what happened. And everything that stayed around, relationships that stuck around, everything that's here still, all that's good, is meant to be here, and I'm so grateful. And now I look at my son and I'm like, nothing about our story was wrong. Nothing about his birth was wrong. It just was dramatic and it wasn't fun. But if I had to do it all over again, I would, because he's here and he's safe. I am so full of gratitude every single day. I pray like never before since my son, constantly just thankful and sitting in gratitude. I actually want to share another research thing that I found, but practicing gratitude, new neuroscience shows, actually rewires neural pathways for emotional regulation, especially in postpartum women. And so if you're watching this and you are dealing with postpartum, you're in postpartum, you're about to have a baby, and you feel so anxious and you just have no idea who you are anymore, I want you to know that you are a creator. You're a mother. You gave life. You literally brought a human to this planet. When I see women walking around that are mothers, I'm like, wow. And when I see just an individual walking in society, I'm like, oh, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your mom. Like, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a woman. Put respect on her name. Thank you. It's just crazy. The whole thing is just nuts. And so when you look at it from that place of like, you're a powerful person. You're a powerful being. Like, you were given this amazing responsibility from God to bring souls and life into this planet and to rear them up and to go through a death and a rebirth, because that's what happens when you give birth. The old you is gone, and you have to build a new version of yourself. And it's funny. I want to talk about this really quick. I saw a TikTok recently where they were talking about how postpartum, I don't even think they were talking about postpartum, but I thought about it for postpartum. They were talking about unaliving ideation, right? Like unaliving yourself, and how that initial reaction is not wrong, because there is a part of you that wants to die, and there's a part of you that doesn't want to be here anymore. But if you look at it as not a real like unaliving, but you look at it as like a part of me is not meant to be here anymore. A part of me is gone. And grieving that part of you, having a moment, having a funeral for that part of you so that the rest of you can live, so the rest of you can build and grow. And just knowing that's kind of the cycle of life. And I think a lot of times we will stay stagnant because we don't want to grieve the old us. We don't want to see that part of us fall away, because it's just not fun. But after going through my own death and rebirth, honey, I'm glad I did it, because I like this version of myself so much more, and I feel so much more confident. I don't second guess when I have to make decisions. I don't care if something is not in alignment with my life anymore. I make choices that feel completely 100% a yes or 100% a no. My son is my compass for making the right choices in my life. He is the catalyst. And I think a lot of people will use their children as an excuse to not be healthy, to not take care of themselves, to not go after their dreams, to not be better people. They'll be like, oh, once you have kids, to not work on their marriage. And I look at my son as a catalyst for the opposite. Because of my son, I want a healthy relationship that's full of passion and love and respect. Because of my son, I want a beautiful home. Because of my son, I want to take care of myself and eat and work out. Because of my son, I want to chase my dreams. Because of him, I want to be the best version of myself, and I don't want to give it up at all, because I want him to grow up and be like, my mom did that. Like, that's my mom, So, yeah. If your body feels foreign right now, if your plans didn't go as you had hoped that they would, just know that your nervous system deserves peace. And even if it doesn't feel peaceful right now, seek help, talk to a family member, see what can be done, find support, find community, and don't just write it off as I'm just being emotional or I'll get over this. Postpartum is a roller coaster. It is not 100% all the time one thing. One day you may feel amazing, the next day you might not, and that's okay. Talk to a professional, talk to a friend, talk to a sister, talk to a brother, talk to a mom, a grandmother. Find community because you need help as you deal with ever changing moments that come with becoming a new mom. And the peace starts with you having compassion for yourself. Have compassion. Do not put pressure on yourself in any way. That can come later. Right now, you did the most important work on the planet, and that was bringing new life here and creating a new person. Like, you create a new person, they're going to be a contributing member to society, and hopefully they do good. But and I think that's the root of why I am so passionate about this season of my life, because if I'm not good, how can I raise a good kid who's going to do good in the world? If I don't feel good about myself, how can I teach my child to feel good about themselves so that they do good? And so have compassion so that you can teach your child to have compassion, so we can have a more compassionate world. It all starts with you. Anyhow, my final message is for any woman watching this: you are not a failure if you end up having a C-section and you wanted to be a granola mom like me. It's okay. As long as you and your baby are here and alive and well, that is the ultimate target goal. You are not less of a mother if you cannot breastfeed for up to a year, for however long people say. It's your body, your milk, your choice. And it's funny because I actually saw there's like a whole side of TikTok where women chose to not breastfeed at all. Like, they literally were like, out the gate, formula it up. I don't want anybody on my boob. And that was their choice because they were like, it doesn't make me happy. And I was like, dang, okay, kudos to these women. They were not putting themselves through that pressure. And so if that's what you choose, look, I believe it's the woman's choice 100% of the time. You choose whatever that choice is. It's right for you and your body and your household, and that baby will be better off because you chose what was right for you. You are not behind because you're still healing. Just because other women out there are bouncing back with abs, doing, burpees and things and flipping tires over, that's cool. You don't need to be there. You need to feel right up here and put some cute clothes on, size up, okay? And just slowly start to feel like a cool new version of yourself. It's okay. Do not compare yourself. You are in competition with yourself. That's it. At the end of the day, you're a woman. You are a creator. God gave you such a beautiful, amazing, miraculous, magical gift to bring life into this planet. And your story is sacred no matter what that looks like. Your healing journey, your life shifting is so beautiful, and it deserves to be acknowledged. So I want to acknowledge you, and I want to send you love. I hope if you're watching this video, you feel seen, and I want you to know that it's beautiful. You made it. You made it on the other side. You had your little baby, and that's all that matters. Anyhow, I just wanted to share my birth story on here with some of what I learned, and I hope that it would help a woman out there to see herself, maybe prepare a little bit, and know that she's not alone in the journey. And even if you feel like the past you is completely gone, you don't really resonate with things that you used to, you have no idea who you are, you have like identity issues, what a beautiful place to be, right? Because I always remind myself of the butterfly and caterpillar story. The caterpillar looks nothing like a butterfly, okay? Caterpillars don't have wings. Their entire body anatomy changed when they chose to go into the dark, into isolation, completely dissolve their whole being, and came out anew. And that is what postpartum is like. That is what giving birth is like. You go into the valley of the shadow of death, okay? And you are in isolation for a while. You may not talk to friends for a while. You may truly feel like you passed away. But on the other side, you have wings now. You have wisdom now. You are literally a goddess, okay? And so if you see it from that point of, I'm a butterfly now, I can't resonate with caterpillars. I can't resonate with the caterpillar version of myself. That helps you seek other butterflies. It starts to help you fly and be beautiful in your world because you walk with a newfound confidence. And that's what I found for myself. And that's what I pray and hope that whoever is watching this finds for herself as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I encourage you to write down 3 things that you're proud of and full of gratitude with this week if you can. Spending time in gratitude and acknowledging what you're proud of can do wonders for your mental health. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.